Hey, what is up YouTube? Kyo here coming at you with a brand new replay, and in this game we're going to be checking out a game between myself and in the bottom right we have Neuro, pretty popular streamer nowadays, playing up some Zerg action. And in this game we're going to be checking out a game that I played on stream. Thought it was pretty entertaining, so I figured I'd be going over it for you guys. I made a stream highlight of it. You guys might have seen it. If you haven't, definitely go ahead and head over to my stream. Make sure to follow that. You can get to see some awesome things live. See some of this cool stuff with live commentary and live thoughts. The highlight was called Musical Chairs with Neuro. If that will open your brain to the possibilities that happen in this game. Anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about Legacy of the Void and kind of the development in this game, of where we've seen the game going with the recent patches as shown by Blizzard. Lately we saw the Cyclone get nerfed so that it no longer hits air. Adept's damage something so that it attacks or can be issued commands quicker was changed. It was lowered so you can do it better, I guess. I don't know. Honestly, what I wanted to kind of talk about in this video was my thoughts on where Protoss is and where it's going. I kind of get the feeling like there's a lot of changes that Blizzard is doing to units like Cyclones. They changed Ravagers a lot. Swarm hosts were almost completely changed from how they were in Heart of the Swarm. They now start with a flying upgrade. They do more damage, and Swarm hosts are much faster. But with all of these changes to the other races, it's actually kind of odd that they're not changing any Protoss units. The only thing that is constantly being changed thus far is the Adept, and I'm not really sure I really like where the Adept is at right now. And the main reason for that is because the Adept has this weird factor where it's pretty useful and has some great interactions versus both Terran and Zerg when you're playing versus them as a Protoss player. But when you're playing against another Protoss player, it's actually kind of silly. Right now, if you both just go 4-gate Adept, you start out with double gate into Adept, into 4-gate Adept with the shield upgrade. If you don't do that build and someone else does it, you literally just lose so many probes that you can't win. You cannot come back. If you try and go for an Oracle because they're going for Adepts, the Oracle doesn't come out fast enough and you lose too many probes in the beginning. They can just warp in 4 Stalkers and then just play a macro game from there. So it's got all these weird interactions that I think are actually quite bad for Protoss versus Protoss. It's sort of interesting for the one game kind of a thing where, you know, I went over the game with Desro. It's kind of like, oh, look at these cool interactions that were from Legacy, or I mean, you know, they kind of remind you of Wings of Liberty, kind of old school Protoss. But it's not really, I don't know, it's kind of gimmicky, basically, and it's not like a legitimate way to play, to be honest. But in any case, so far we're already speeding up in this game. We've got 2 guys on each gas, 5 gateways, doing some proxy pylons, and it is currently, I don't think it's actually 6:50. I think this is the wrong time. I don't know. It's really early in the game, basically. So we're going for a really quick Adept attack. Only have 10 guys on our natural. We see that Neuro is back here going for a Hydralisk Den. He's got a total of 3 queens right now, making 2 overseers. Hydralisk Den is about a little bit more than halfway. We've got our Adept running in here. And this is where the musical chairs comes from. So we have our Adepts just running straight into the base, and another set splitting over here. And we're going to have some multitasking coming into play now. Just going to be watching the Harvester tab here. Down to 38 workers. These adepts just kind of murder workers really fast, if you didn't know. This is the kind of thing I was talking about. It's really interesting to see the different ways that other races can hold this off. Definitely kind of gimmicky versus Protoss. You can see that we're already ahead in the worker count. And we're warping in 6 adepts at a time here. Down to 15 workers killed thus far. We can see that the Hydralisk den is slowly morphing into a Lurker's den. Got these 6 adepts coming in down here. A few more adepts up here, still doing damage. See, back at base, we're making a robotics facility, getting up our gas on our natural. Neuro down to 28 workers, 26 workers killed thus far. And so, if in this case, the reason it's a little more interesting than in Protoss versus Protoss is that Zerg can actually just make roaches, and this is not anywhere near as effective. And I think in the next game I'll cast, I'll probably be going over the modified version of this build that I've been testing and playing around with. But we can see that when you don't build roaches, this kind of smacks you pretty hard. If you even go Hydralisk Ling kind of a thing, I think it still does just about the same amount of damage because Adepts kind of base roll Zerglings and Hydralisks. We have some Stalkers back at home, getting up our robotics bay. Kind of throwing in some more Adepts here, picking off some more workers. Down to 12, I think 12 workers here is the lowest point we've seen Neuro. We did have a 3rd base queued up here, but there's an Overlord spread and creep there, so our minerals got high for a little bit. Chrono boosting out some Colossus, and this is where, you guys just saw the other highlight where I flew a bunch of Void Rays into Neuro's base. He says, I made a comment about going full Kyo. This is where that comes from. When I played Neuro in WCS qualifiers, I just cheesed him a bunch, so I guess that's kind of his way of saying, of course this is something that you would do. But, I mean, that's what these units are for. You're supposed to be testing them, I guess. And really right now, as I was saying, Adept's kind of the only thing that Protoss can really do, and it's kind of gimmicky, honestly. Like, I'd love to be playing a macro game, but doesn't really work out that well. We can see a Nidus network on the way for Neuro. Slowly building back up his drone count, up to 28. Doesn't have a 3rd base just yet. Our 3rd base is being established. We got some cannons up here getting +1. Adding on some lurkers. 2nd Colossus. Have our army chilling out over here. And we're about to be all the way up to 55 probes on 3 base. Keeping our money pretty low right now. Neuro making another Hydralisk. Got an Overseer up here. We are going to see a Nidus network. Now keep in mind that in Legacy of the Void, Nidus networks are invulnerable until they actually spawn. And this is one thing I kind of wanted to point out in this game. That's not supposed to happen, right? So I just lost like 20 probes or something. But I thought I was under the assumption that if you completely surround a Nidus network, stuff isn't supposed to come out of it. But apparently it just like jumps over your unit like it's being catapulted out of a, I don't know, a bungee jump or something, I don't know. Drones trying to kill our Colossus. So now we've basically entered into a really weird base trade, and we've lost like our insane worker lead just to 2 lurkers. And this is one thing that I kind of wanted to point out. So, we were mentioning how Protoss is like really gimmicky. And first off, the Nidus network there did quite a ton of damage. But even if it hadn't, let's assume it hadn't done all that damage. We have 3 lurkers here. And like I can't do anything. It's actually kind of odd to me. Like, lurkers have not only a shit ton of health, but they do 30 damage, and they have their range upgrade built in now. They come with that. So, like, if you have just a few lurkers, they just smash every Protoss unit. And it's really kind of odd, because you figure with all the changes they're doing to units, they would be changing, I don't know, the base health of units or something. Like, if you guys have been watching my stream, it's something that I've actually really been bothered by, but right now Zealots don't move at the correct speed, and even when you have Zealot charged, they're actually kind of useless. Like, unless you're trying to preserve gas to use it on something else, Zealots are pretty useless right now in Legacy of the Void, even with charge. So, I don't know, it feels really odd that you have, like, you can have just a few lurkers and Protoss can't attack into it at all, because splash damage just melts Zealots, melts Stalkers, outranges Colossus. If you didn't know, they have 9 range. Colossus, even with Thermal Lance, only have 8 range now. So it's just like, I don't know, it feels really odd to me that, like, just a few lurkers, or a few Ravagers, or a few Cyclones do so much versus Protoss right now. It's definitely something that's it's been on my mind. Neuro here, just sitting on 3rd base now. Not much left for him. We still do have our natural base. This Nidus network still chilling out over here, but even though we're down to 17 workers, we are we have a base and he doesn't. So somehow, like, think about this. He went down to 12 workers, and he was able to not only nullify one of my bases, my other base is basically mined out, but, like, popping out of a Nidus Worm where he shouldn't really have been able to get out, killing, like, 30 probes with 3 lurkers, and then, like, 6 stalkers fighting 2 or 3 lurkers, and they couldn't do more or less anything. It seems, I don't know, it just really feels like Protoss needs some buffage to their base units or something. Like, I think the whole idea right now that Blizzard's trying to do is to make units overly strong and then have everyone fight with OP units and then have the game balance itself. But right now, Protoss doesn't really have any OP units. And on some maps, versus people who have decent mechanics, like, you can't even get past 2 base. You build a natural base, and then they just come and kill you with Ravagers or Roaches or whatever. Like, I don't know, the way the economy works is really bad for Protoss. But in any case, those were just some thoughts I wanted to go on with this game. Running around with those Adepts is fun. Up to 65 workers killed at the end of this game. And in the next game, we're going to be checking out the modified version of this build, what Adepts can do in tandem with some other units, and hopefully bring you guys some more thoughts on Legacy of the Void Beta from a Protoss perspective. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.